So this is the third time that I've started this video, and I know I want it to be about the idea of making content and the idea of being creative and then trying to marry those things two together. But I admit I don't have the point nailed down. I'm a very small time content creator on YouTube, and I have been struggling to make content to the point where it doesn't even seem like creativity plays into it. Creativity feels like a luxury. If you're a content creator of any kind, you probably know exactly how this feels. If you're not a content creator and simply a content consumer, then I feel like you would still probably know how this feels. I think when we say creative, we mean think outside the box, do something new, make something that's different. But maybe it's also just simply the act of creating something. And that's really where I've been getting hung up. If you are one of the few people that follow me, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you will have noticed that I have not uploaded in a while. And that is because it is amazing how many roadblocks will present themselves the second you want to do something, ever. This is not just in terms of creating something for YouTube for public consumption. Even doing something in private that nobody will ever see can also be difficult. Now sometimes, I have a pen now we're talking. Sometimes I think, oh, it's probably harder to do things in private that nobody will ever see because nobody will ever see it, and I think as human beings we want to be complimented, we want positive feedback, we want to connect. And so part of the point of this video is simply to just do something. It's a very simple video. I don't have a script. But in terms of trying to do something, this is my version of trying to do something. So some of the roadblocks I can identify fairly easily. The first one is that this has not been a good year. One of the funny things in content creation in general is that I think there is this pressure to be quote-unquote authentic, but you could easily spin it to ask how authentic we are in our everyday lives. And I don't even mean like in a bad way, like we're all walking around being hideous liars or anything like that. I just mean that when you go to the grocery store and you are in a bad mood and you feel very sad or angry, you generally still try to be polite to the people that you're interacting with. You say please and thank you to the cashier, and you don't, break down crying in front of them. Sometimes that probably happens, but in general, we're not aiming for that This is a terrible time to film a video. Now I know. Anyway, generally we keep our emotions in check and we don't worry about being inauthentic just because we aren't angry and sad when we feel like it at the grocery store. However, in content creation, you are a commodity, but you're also supposed to be yourself and you're supposed to be creative. And I think it's easy for me to, like anybody else, you compare yourself to people who are much further along in their journey. So I have my slew of YouTubers that I follow, or even just people on Instagram, different artists, and I see how good their results are and I see how people respond to it, and I get hung up on their worst being so much better than my best. So if they're having a rough year or a rough time, and sometimes they will openly admit that things are difficult for them at the moment, they still show up and they still present themselves in a completely palatable manner. And I'm not saying that they're lying and that things aren't actually really hard for them, but they're still able to put out content and they're still able to put out pretty good content. So I think I'm at a point where I don't know how to show up when I'm not having a good season. And I think this is one of those things where there's so much work that people have put into their lives, their work, and themselves that you don't necessarily see, but was absolutely necessary in order for them to show up the way that they do when they're not in a good phase of their life. I don't know how to do that. I barely know how to do that in real life. I certainly don't know how to do that in the world of YouTube and content creation. And maybe if you're a small-time person like me, you don't either. So that's certainly been a major roadblock. It's been a bad year and I don't know how to turn that into art. I think that a lot of I'll say successful people do know how to do that. They know how to channel whatever it is they're going through into something else. The second roadblock is that I'm just not that good at YouTube. I'm okay at it. And when I say YouTube, I just kind of mean the overall scope of what goes into making a YouTube video. So having an idea, executing that idea, presenting oneself in front of the camera, editing, lighting, the camera itself, how to optimize your video for YouTube, scripting, all of these different things that go into making a video. I'm not that good at it. And everybody has to be bad at something at some point. And I know this in my head, but I do not know it in my heart. And so I think another roadblock, or maybe this is just a roadblock within the roadblock I was just talking about, is handling technical difficulties. And I have been encouraged somewhat because even watching some of the creators that I really like, I know that they have some videos where the mic wasn't plugged in and they forgot about it. So, oops, we have to use camera sound this time. Or they lose footage and they kind of have to explain what happened and what they did and catch you back up and keep you in the loop, and they just keep going. But dealing with those technical issues definitely takes the wind out of your sails. So it's like with anything, you know, if you're trying to learn how to paint, learning to paint is hard enough. Painting is hard enough. Again, it requires dedication and skill. But if you can't find, if you can't find paintbrushes that are good, just no matter which ones you try, something always goes wrong. Something that shouldn't be going wrong. The bristles keep falling out, or like they just snap in half for some reason. That's what it feels like, and it feels like you just keep going to stores and buying more paintbrushes and they all keep falling apart. And so all of the energy that you would have been putting into learning how to do the thing and actually doing the thing is instead spent on what seemed like the dumbest problem in the universe. There are other problems in the universe. It just feels like the dumbest one at the time. So for me, I haven't uploaded a Nancy Drew playthrough video in a while because I tried to film the last section of the one game that I'm going through, and I did it I think 2 or 3 times, and I encountered a new problem with my screen capturing software that it just wouldn't record. It would just stop recording it. And when I tried to troubleshoot it, I think I sort of figured it out, but then I have to test it, and I have to spend a lot of time testing it in order to make sure that it actually works. Otherwise, I'm going to do the whole thing again and have to start over. Plus, speaking about authenticity, some of these games I haven't played before, or I haven't finished before, I don't remember. And so a lot of my first time reactions are like genuine, and I'm actually surprised as I'm playing the game and stuff like that. And then I lose that, so then I lose elements of myself that I think are sort of more entertaining. And again, wind, sails, removed. And one thing I've noticed, especially in the content creation for content creators sphere, is that saying that it's difficult just doesn't always translate. Saying that you're gonna make 50 lousy videos before you make really good ones doesn't really translate, because it's not just the idea of creating something that turns out mediocre because you have mediocre skills at the moment. It's the idea that it still takes a ton of effort and mental energy to create something that either A, isn't that good, or B, in this sphere of life, isn't seen or received by the people that you are aiming to entertain. So I don't know who this video is for even. If you're a small-time content creator like me, I'm not even gonna say, just keep going, just keep trying, you've heard all of that. You know what you know, and I know. I'll keep trying, even though I don't really want to right now. I don't want to deal with the technical difficulties. I don't want to have to deal with the algorithm and niching down. And I don't want to have to choose between my different genres of videos. And I don't want to have to do lots of things. But I will have wanted to do them, if that makes sense. Future me would like me to keep going. So I'm going to listen to future me. If you have a future you, even if you're not a content creator, even if you're just trying to do anything, you don't have to be happy about it. Just do the little things. They apparently add up, and they do. I know they do. Little things add up. Daily work adds up. That's what we're gonna try to do. Just like this video. This isn't a very good video, but I did it. Well, it's 9 a.m. Most people are at work by now, or at school, so finally, traffic has subsided. I'm going to maybe get another coffee. So long.